Hey guys, first things first, I look and feel like shit. I've had a headache for the past 2 days and I love that for me, but I just took some Panadol, so hopefully that kicks in soon because my head's been throbbing since 2 days ago, which isn't great. About a couple months ago, about 2 months ago, 3 months ago, something like that, I filmed a video about what I liked about 13 Reasons Why Season 3. It was originally going to be like a pros and cons about 13 Reasons Why, but then once I finished all the pros, I realized that there was an hour and a half worth of footage that I managed to cut down to about 55 minutes. So if you want to watch that video, you can. But today I thought I'd just film the cons of 13 Reasons Why, at least in my opinion, the things that I thought were done pretty horribly, characters I didn't like, things I wish they did better. These notes were written a couple months ago, so hopefully they're still relevant and hopefully I actually understand what I'm talking about and that these notes make sense to me because I wrote these in December or something like that. Let's just hop right on into it. The first con I want to talk about and just get out of the way because I think this is a unanimous thing that everyone hated in season 3. You can probably already tell already. I fucking hated Ani. She was the most annoying person this season. I appreciate what they tried to do with her this season. How she added a fresh perspective to the show because she didn't really know anything about Hannah. She didn't know about Jess and what happened to her and about Bryce and what he was like. However, her voiceovers were kind of unrealistic. Especially considering the fact that they were part of I refuse to call it an interrogation, more like an interview with the police. Who the fuck is gonna say, so yeah, I'm the new girl? The British accent's terrible, but I'm gonna just roll with it. Yeah, who's gonna say that to a deputy at the police station if you've been at Liberty High for 8 months? Sorry to break it to you, honey, but you're not new anymore. And it also just seemed like a really cheap way to introduce a new character just by shoving her in our face and just add her blatantly obvious commentary. If a character was sad, she'd be yeah, he was sad, we get it, we can see. And some scenes that are my favorite scenes are ones that don't have her commentary, for example that scene where Tyler told Clay what happened to him and when he told Jessica. I loved those scenes mainly because Tyler was the best part of season 3, but also because it wasn't interrupted by Ani's obvious commentary. They were just sweet scenes and we knew what was happening because we're not dumb. This is just my opinion and something I kind of noticed, but it kind of seemed like a terrible ripoff of Elite. Both seasons 1 and season 2 and season 3 as well of that show, and how in that show they use a police interrogation to kind of distinguish between the past and the present, but the difference with Elite is that it's actually good and it was executed well. For example, in Elite, they, instead of just interrogating one character like they did in season 3 where it was just Ani's commentary, they would the police inspector, because it's set in Spain, would be yo, so do you know what happened to Marina the night she died? And then the person that they were interviewing would kind of give the inspector some kind of look as if they were disappointed or sad or confused or they knew something, and then they would show what happened in the past instead of telling the police deputy what happened and then showing us as well. Do one or the other, don't do both. It just seemed unnecessary filler. Also, her relationship with Bryce was such a mess. Who sleeps with their best friend's rapist? Especially after you know what happened to Jess and that Bryce was Jess's rapist. Why would you still choose to sleep with him? Doesn't matter if you were attracted to him or that you saw him as a sweet broken kid, which was kind of Ani's purpose in season 3, to kind of show Bryce in a different light and make him seem like a nicer character, he was more broken, but maybe don't sleep with him. honestly, I didn't mind Arnie up to this point, but like I kind of lost respect for her after this. Also, like, please don't send the actress hate. When I was writing these notes, she was getting a lot of hate on like Instagram, and she deleted all her posts and everything, but now she's back on Instagram and she's amazing. I love her Instagram a lot, so I'd recommend following her, but not being like, hey, you fucking suck because of a character you played. Like, no, she was just doing her job, and it's just unfortunate that her character was written poorly. She did the best that she could with that character. Arnie kept sticking her nose into like other people's business, and it was just kind of rude and annoying. And like, one thing that sticks out to mind is when her and Zach went to Claremont Prep, where Chloe was attending after she like transferred from Liberty High to Claremont because of all the shit she went through when she was there, like with Bryce, and like how she became pregnant and then had an abortion, and she just wanted to like leave that part of her behind, so she moved schools. And so Arnie and Zach turned up to that school, and Arnie said, did you ever tell Bryce that you were pregnant? Like, that's none of your business. And the fact that she said it so loudly in front of the school was just disgusting to me. You literally don't know Chloe. You've never spoken to her. You've never had any kind of interaction with her. Like, you moved to the school like towards the end of her leaving or after she left, so it's not your place to know. Like, if you were like Chloe's best friend and you kind of spoke about it like privately, like, I don't know, in Chloe's house or something like that, that would be okay, but the fact that you did it in such an open space is not okay. And Clay also tried to warn Arnie about Bryce and that he was a rapist, and I don't know if I explained this, but Arnie was living in Bryce's guest house because Arnie's mum was a caretaker for Bryce's grandfather. So like, they lived very close to each other and they hung out because she kind of had to be nice to Bryce, because if shit went down then maybe the mum could like lose her job and they needed the money, that kind of thing, especially since Arnie's mum is a single parent trying to raise Arnie all by herself, especially since Arnie's mum is an immigrant, and I can't remember what country she's from, but I think Kenya, but they immigrated to London when Arnie was very young and then moved to America. So there's like a lot of pressure of like, if Arnie or the mum does anything slightly wrong, then they could be deported or anything like that. So I understand Arnie like being nice to Bryce. I get it. What I don't get is her sleeping with him even after you've been warned by not only Clay but other people as well. And she got mad at Clay. And like, Clay was just trying to be a homie and look out for Arnie, but why do I keep saying you as if like Arnie is a real human being? Clay was just trying to be a decent guy because Clay is a good guy. I'm glad that in season 3 he was like a whole lot nicer, because in season 2 his character was a mess. And in the interrogation she just lied about everything, and it doesn't really make sense why she would lie about stuff. Like, for example, when like her and Clay kissed and she said to Deputy Standall, we like never even kissed, like we never had sort of relationship, like I never had a crush on him or anything like that. And it didn't make sense. And it's not until like the very last episode when it's revealed that like Arnie in the interrogation was lying about everything so then she could frame Bryce's murder on Monty, even though he was found dead in his jail cell. Apparently in the French version it says that he was hanged, but in the American version it says that he was just killed and that he died, and there's nothing more to that. And like, I understand her role in the interrogation was to like pin the murder on Monty, so she had to kind of lie about certain things to like protect her friends and also protect herself, but it was just still wrong. And a lot of people were saying that it was wrong for her to pin the murder on Monty, but maybe it's just because I'm immoral, but I personally don't care, because Monty was a piece of shit and he was already dead, so it's not like he can defend himself. But maybe in season 4 Winston will try and prove that like Monty didn't murder Bryce because Monty was with Winston. Oh my god, I've got so many fucking notes about Arnie. Jess and Arnie were like kind of best friends, like they spoke to each other about everything. and Arnie listened to Jess talk about how she felt uncomfortable in her own body and how sex didn't feel right to her due to what Bryce had done to her and how that like affected her like physically and mentally, and she still had the audacity to sleep with Bryce afterwards. No, that's no. And also, like, you know how in season 3 it was like a secret that Justin and Jessica were like together, which I didn't understand. I don't understand why everyone hates Justin, because he's just a sweet guy. Everyone's like, oh, like he let Jessica get raped. Like, no, Bryce pushed him and he felt like he didn't have any power, and it makes more sense in this season because it's revealed that Justin is a victim of sexual abuse, so it probably just brought him to a place where he felt like he was back to that state of mind he was in when he was being sexually abused, and he felt like he'd lost control all over again, which I completely understand. Justin and Jessica were a secret, and there was this whole storyline about like how when Jess like masturbated that she was thinking about someone that she shouldn't have been thinking about, like someone that was bad for her. And at this time Jessica and Alex are still dating, so immediately Arnie just thinks that she was thinking about Bryce, which no, like, have you not been listening? Like, why would you think about your rapist while you're, yeah, like, why? It doesn't make sense. So like I get that in these police interrogations Arnie was kind of like making everyone look guilty so then there could be suspense for the audience to think like, oh, maybe it was Justin, maybe it was Tyler, maybe it was someone, you know, and kind of keeping us intrigued. But something that like really doesn't sit right with me is that she said that Tyler had the characteristics of a killer even though he was innocent. He was just, especially considering like everything Tyler went through. And I'm pretty sure Arnie knows about what Tyler went through. Even if she didn't know about like his, like the rape that happened to him, surely she would know about like how he brought a gun to school and tried to like attempt a school shooting and that kind of thing. So I don't think anyone that has like mental stability would do that. He was obviously in a lot of pain and he's better now, and for you to like tell the police that he has the like characteristics of a killer is just so messed up. Also, like, everyone warned Arnie about Bryce, even Bryce's mum. And if that's not a red flag, I don't know what is. Oh, and when Clay said like, don't do that I'm quite perceptive thing, it's annoying. Like, I felt that in my soul because like, that just describes her in season 3 for sure. Arnie was trying to get Clay's alibi for the murder of Bryce from a lot of people, like including Tyler, and like she thought that Clay could be capable of killing someone, and like that's like, you're a shitty friend, I'm sorry. Like, if something like that happened in my town and like one of my close friends was accused, I would not think that. I would think that they were innocent and someone was trying to pin them for the murder. I wouldn't just be like, yep, my best friend that I've known, like they've only known each other for like 8 months, but still, you'd think at that point you would have a sense of character and know that they're a good person instead of trying to like pin him for the murder. She's so annoying, like when she breaks into Clay's bedroom trying to like search for evidence that like he could have been a killer, and like asking everyone at school like for his alibi and like where Clay was when Bryce was killed. But then she's also like, don't shout at me, Clay, even though I've broken into your house. Oh my god, that was so annoying. And she literally didn't leave until Clay like started screaming at her. He was like, leave, and then Arnie was just standing there and he was like, go, and then he was just standing there and then he was like, leave, and then she like looks terrified and runs away. Like, that's what you get. Oh, and also in that, like when Jessica had that speech about like, my name is blah and I'm a survivor, like that powerful scene, and Arnie like congratulates Jess on the speech and how it went, and while Jess is explaining like how completely nerve-wracking that scene was for her, she just interrupts so then she can ask her about a specific quote about the speech. Like, can you let her fucking finish first? Yeah, it was just really nerve-wracking how I, like, had to get up in front of all those people. And so what was that speech about the broken mirror? Those aren't the exact quotes, but I can't be bothered watching it again because I've already watched it twice and that's enough for me. One redeemable thing I'll say before I stop talking about her is that, like, at least she had a plan to protect Alex from going to jail for murdering Bryce, even though in my opinion it wasn't murder, it just kind of looked like an accident. That was nice of her. Just a little tangent here. Because Alex isn't, like, that strong, because after he shot himself in the head, he's, like, had trouble, like, walking and with balance and stuff, and he originally, like, tries to help Bryce, like, stand up and, like, get him to the car so then he's not left out to die in the middle of the night, like, freezing next to the river or wherever he was. And then Bryce starts talking shit, and I'll talk about it more next, but Bryce starts talking shit and then Alex is like, "You've hurt everyone I've ever loved," and then starts walking towards, like, the edge of the docks, and it almost looks like Alex kind of slipped. He could have pushed him, but it looks more accidental than it does, like, purposeful, but I could be wrong. Next I want to talk about Bryce. I talked about him a lot in what I liked about season 3, which is a bit controversial, but whatever. I thought his character development was really good, but I still have some qualms about him. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. I'm not smart enough to use smart words like qualms. He was still an asshole, like, even though it looked like he changed about, like, his attitudes towards sex and rape and all that kind of stuff, he was still a piece of shit. Especially in that scene where Alex and Bryce break into what Bryce thinks is his father's new home, and they, like, start, you know, like, breaking shit, and then there's, like, a 10-year-old kid that, like, walks, like, down the stairs in the middle of the night, and it's then when Bryce and Alex realize that, like, this isn't their house, and, like, Alex wanted to leave when he noticed this, but then, like, Bryce continues to scare this child, saying that, like, "I'm gonna, like, come back for you, I'm gonna, like, kill you," shit like that, and, like, he scares him to the point where, like, the poor little kid, like, wets himself. And Bryce doesn't seem to care at all. And this was truly a shame because, like, I believed that Bryce was actually trying to change and be a better person, but, like, underneath it all, he was still arrogant as hell. I think that's all I wanted to talk about with Bryce, just a little bit, but just thought I'd add that in there. Next, I want to talk about Arnie and Bryce, just as a couple. I don't know if I really need to explain this, but I'm going to explain it anyway. I think I've said it before, but I get that Arnie was introduced to this version of Bryce that was kind of broken and, like, needed a friend, and, like, she saw this side of him that he was broken and that everyone else saw him as a rapist. But then again, if you hear from, like, one of your closest friends, if not best friend, that Bryce raped her, maybe don't then sleep with him. That just seems kind of fucked up. I also hate how this relationship was kind of played off as this thing that we were meant to be invested in, but I hated it. Hated every second of it. I liked their friendship, I'm not gonna lie, their friendship was kind of cute, but I just don't like how it turned into I guess friends with benefits. I just hated everything about that. Next I want to talk about Tyler. Like, not him specifically, but just how, like, some of his past actions were, like, completely brushed over. Like, are we all just gonna ignore the fact that he almost shot up a school dance? Like, I felt like that wasn't addressed enough. And just in general, American gun laws are a fucking mess, but I don't want to get too political anyway. I just hope in season 4 Tyler, like, gets, like, actual therapy. I know that, like, the school counselor is great, but I hope he talks to her about, like, the school dance. Even if that means that there are some, like, legal repercussions, I think that he should, like, at least talk about it. Like, I know he's talked about it with friends, but maybe it will be more beneficial to talk about that with a mental health professional. Next I want to talk about, like, a general, like, not about a character or anything like that, just kind of, like, a general, like, thing that I noticed in this season, and like more so in like previous seasons, because I think this season was like a little bit better for this, but where is the mental health? Like, for a show that's all about shedding light on like mental health and mental illnesses, like, where is the mental health? Like, are we just gonna ignore Clay's obvious schizophrenia? Like, he starts seeing Hannah when she's dead. He started seeing Bryce. This was only in one scene, to be fair, but like, are we just not gonna talk about how he actually like interacts with these ghosts almost, and so like he can actually see them and talk to them? And he was yelling at Hannah in season 2 in the middle of Monet's, and no one batted an eye. So like, what is going on? For a show that's grounded in reality, or at least supposed to be, then what is happening? Like, I'd understand if it was like, I don't know, some sort of like mythical TV show, but it's meant to be about like teenagers today and their mental health and shedding a light on it and like encouraging them to seek help if they need to. Also, Clay's been having these nightmares on and off since season 1, and it's just being like brushed to the side. Like, Justin mentions it once because he is genuinely worried for Clay, which I understand because they're essentially brothers and they like share a room together and stuff like that, but like, I think even like his parents noticed, and they keep wanting him to see like his psychologist, I think, because he used to be seeking treatment for depression. So I just really hope that he gets therapy in season 4. Like, the only thing I ship him with is therapy and medication. Also, let's talk about Alex. Why did he try and get a gun off Tyler this season after he shot himself in the head, and all the shit that went down after that, and how like he can't really walk properly anymore and he still has to navigate his way through that? And I think he still has a walker. It's not as bad as it was in season 2, but his leg is still fucked up. So I think with that, you'd kind of know like, this is what happens if I attempt to shoot myself. I also ship Alex with therapy in season 4. I just hope that like all the characters that haven't already seen some sort of like mental health professional gets therapy. I think the only person that's like taking their mental health somewhat seriously is Tyler. I already said that in my what I liked about 13 Reasons Why season 3 video. Also, for a show that preaches how like you are not your trauma and your trauma doesn't define you, the characters sure do seem defined by their traumas, like especially Tyler and Jessica. Like, think about it, like in season 1, everyone hated Jessica until we all realized what happened to her, and we all felt bad for her and we all love her, all because everything Jess does is about like how she can like use what happened to her to like help other people, which is amazing, but that shouldn't be the only thing about her. They should kind of show that she's compassionate and that she's willing to listen to others, and that she has like other qualities to her other than being a rape victim. Same with Tyler as well. Like, before season 2 finale, everyone thought he was a creep, but in season 3 we all grew to love him because we knew that something horrible happened to him, so we kind of just disregard everything that he did previously, like stalking Hannah and just being like really creepy. Again, all his actions kind of seem defined in him being a victim, like him going to like the hate show hands off group that Jessica started, and originally he goes to like be an ally, but then he reveals to Jessica that he's not just an ally, he's also a survivor. And it just seems like everything he does as well is defined by him like being shaken up by what he's been through and all that kind of stuff. So I hope in season 4 we get to see more sides to these characters other than them just, I hope we get to see more sides to these characters. They're like, most of the characters, if not all the characters in this show, are defined by like the worst thing that they've ever done or the worst thing they've ever been through. So I hope that we get to see like different sides to them that aren't just defined by trauma and pain and suffering and shitty past behaviors. And also in that scene with Clay when he starts seeing Bryce's ghost and he's like interacting with Ghost Bryce, and he's saying like, you're not here, after Bryce said, the dead don't stay dead in your life, not for long anyway. Like, if that's not a telltale sign that you need help, I don't know what is. I just really want Clay to be happy because he's a lovely character and he takes care of other people, so who takes care of him? Ghost Bryce even tells Clay to get help, and I think this is the only time I'm ever gonna say to Clay, listen to the ghost. Please get help. I care about you. I know you're not real, but please, Clay, get some help. Next, I want to talk about Monty. Warning, I might get really, really mad. I hate Monty mainly because they made him gay. Like, oh yeah, just like make him gay. That'll make up for everything he's ever done, and that'll make up for him raping Tyler. Like, for fuck's sake. Let's just show like a tiny glimpse of like Monty's dad abusing Monty. That'll make us feel bad for him. That'll make up for everything he's ever done. And it's also, oh my god, like, I think I was hoping for a lot more in season 3, and I was hoping that like Monty wasn't gonna be a rapist. I wasn't expecting that at the end of season 2, because there was hints like throughout season 2 about Monty having an abusive father, and like I wish we got to see more of that rather than Monty being a rapist. Worst of all, a gay, because that doesn't make us look good. And it's like such a shame that they paired him with Winston, who's like a pure sweet character. And oh my god, like, I remember Timothy Gradneros, I think that's his name, the guy that plays Monty, was saying that it's a shame that like he met Winston after everything that he did, but I don't know if him meeting like a sweet guy would have done anything. Maybe it would have made like his internalized homophobia worse, and maybe he would have done something horrible to Winston. I'm hoping that wouldn't have happened, but that's just what I think. But Winston was so sweet, and I just hate how like they made it. I hate how the show made us want to root for like them as a couple, because admittedly they were a bit cute, but Monty's a piece of shit, so I refuse to ship them. And the way that Monty kept like tormenting Tyler at school after he raped him was so painful to watch, because you could see that Tyler just wanted to like nothing to do with it. He was terrified, and like, wasn't it enough that you raped him? Like, do you have to keep insulting him for months? And also when Tyler tries to confront Monty about how like he raped him and that he wants an apology, Monty tells him to get over himself. Like, do I really need to explain why this is bad and why this is problematic? Then when Monty and Winston first meet, they go to like a bedroom together, and Winston gives Monty head, which, you know, good for them, whatever. Then after this, when they're outside, Winston says, oh, it's lovely meeting you, and then Monty's like, what did you fucking say to me, you F-slur? And then like beats him up, like relentlessly. Do I need to explain why this is bad as well? And it wasn't just like a tiny little like pop, you know, it was like Monty was like punching his head like into the stairs, and like he was bleeding from his mouth, and he had like major cuts and bruises all over his face afterwards. Like, it was horrible, and I hate Monty, and as horrible as it is to say, I'm glad he's dead. Next, I want to talk about Monty's dad. There's not a lot to talk about because he was barely in this season, so we didn't get to see too much of like why Monty is the way he is. And there's like almost, like with Bryce, there's a little bit of compassion as to like him being a rapist, because we had like more character development from him, and we got to see like his kind of home life more and all that kind of stuff, and we got to see more of Bryce. But with Monty, we just, because he was like a secondary character, we didn't see a lot of him, and we didn't see a lot of like his background and his past. Monty's dad's a piece of shit as well, and I guess it explains why Monty is also a piece of shit. But anyway, Monty's dad, I don't even know his name, he's that unimportant. Like, he's abusive towards Monty, like physically. And when Monty got arrested for raping Tyler, the only thing that Monty's dad cared about was the fact that he assaulted a man, and not the fact that he assaulted like a human being. Then he calls his son the F-slur and spits on his face. And he's just generally scummy and I don't like it. Another concept I didn't like in this season is like getting rid of like previous characters and just replacing them with like carbon copies of them instead of just like rolling with these characters. And there could be like other reasons as to why these characters aren't there, like maybe their actors, like the actors that played them were busy with like other roles and stuff, or maybe the show just likes to throw away perfectly good characters. I don't know. What happened to Sherry? She was amazing. I've heard somewhere that like Sherry didn't want to be part of in season 2 when they were trying to figure out who did the Polaroids, and after Sherry went to the clubhouse she felt uncomfortable, and apparently that's why she wasn't in this season, because her character was like uncomfortable with the whole like murder mystery type thing, which I understand. But also, what happened to Ryan? Where'd he go? Courtney, she kind of disappeared. She was there for like the first 2 episodes, barely, and then we didn't hear from her again. Basically her whole character development was like, oh, I'm stepping down from school president so Jessica can step in. Okay, bye. Why? Like, she didn't go through all that character development in season 2 just to be like shunned. Like, why'd they get rid of all these characters? Was it to make more room for a universally hated character, Arnie? Also, characters such as Charlie St. George. Even though I love him to death and he's adorable and he's sweet, even though I love the actor that plays him, he just seems like the exact same character as Scott Reed from season 2. Apparently the actor that plays him was doing another project, which is a shame because everyone like acts like Scott was like the most amazing character, but like literally all he did was say, oh, just because I play football doesn't mean I'm a fucking rapist, and everyone's like, oh my god, Scott, marry me, have my babies, like shut the fuck up. Like, he wasn't that great, he was barely there. Lastly, Nina, like especially after she burned all the Polaroids in season 2, she just like disappeared. Like, what the fuck was that about? I assume that she wasn't there because the actress that plays her is like a main character in another TV show, All American, so I guess like the schedules for those 2 shows clashed. But I would have liked to have seen her because she was a decent character. She was really nice to Jess. I think it would have been more interesting to have either Nina or Sherry. Someone pointed out somewhere that Sherry would have been great for the voiceover as opposed to Arnie, which I agree with. Maybe even like Nina, like someone that's already established and someone that we already know and that we already like, instead of like forcing a new character onto us. It just seemed kind of lazy. I hated the blame athletes narrative this season. I used to play sport heaps when I was in high school. Mainly I played field hockey and I still do. And me personally, I've never done what Bryce has done, and anyone that like I've ever been in a team with has never done that. Like, blaming all the athletes for Bryce and Monty's actions, mainly those 2 anyway, was just so dumb to me. Like, lumping Bryce and Monty and their shitty behaviors with people like Justin and Zach, who were very sweet, very like good characters, was just very, very dumb to me, because I think Zach even said that for him, like, playing sport was his way into college. And like, I know in America, like, it's very hard to get into college, and like if you want to get a scholarship, then sport is like your life. It doesn't really matter what GPA you get or anything like that, just as long as you're like a really good athlete, that's all that matters. And like, I empathize with Jess and the rest of the HO group not wanting talented athletes to get away with like horrific crimes like sexual assault simply because they're good athletes, but like punishing everyone else for something they didn't do seems kind of stupid to me. Like I said before, I used to play sport, like not as, you know, competitively as everyone at Liberty High does. Like, I still kind of understand the toxic masculinity that like the sporting environment has, because I've played in like mixed competitions where like there was a lot of like toxic masculinity in there, and like just, you know, like sexism and all that kind of stuff, which was like horrible to go through. But like, in my personal experience anyway, it was only like a slim percentage of my teammates. Like, I had like one asshole coach that I had to deal with. I've had a lot, but like one main one kind of sticks to mind. And like a couple of like kind of like sexist, like testosterone filled, you know, like hormone raging guys, because like in most of the competitions where I was like kind of mixed in with like the men's teams, I was like an early teenager. So like it's kind of similar to Liberty, how like it's only like a small percentage of the athletes that are like proper assholes and like have done horrible things. That was my experience as well. So I'm just basing my hatred of the blame athletes narrative on my personal experience. I don't know what it's like for everyone else. Maybe they've had experiences where like they've had an entire team filled with horrible people. Like I don't completely understand like the male locker room mentality, because you know I'm a female, of course. So like I can only speak about my experiences in like a mixed gendered environment. Like us boys and girls, we'd have like the same kind of like change room, locker room, whatever you want to call it, but like we would never get like completely naked in front of each other, right? It'd usually just be like taking off our shirts at the end of the game, so it was never like super explicit. Like if this was me in this situation where there was a rapist, or like my rapist in like a sporting team, not that I've ever gone through anything like that, but like hypothetically, I would just like blame that athlete and not the entire team, because I get that like some people in the team might be like enabling him to kind of keep doing what he's doing because they're just letting him be part of the team because he's a good athlete, and kind of excusing his shitty behavior. But I think I would just mainly be like, hey, like Bryce Walker, you're a piece of shit and I'm gonna plan for you to get kicked off the team, and like campaign for that, as opposed to I'm gonna shut down sport at Liberty because even though most of you need this to get into college, I'm just doing this because one person did a horrible thing to me. That just seems like you're doing more harm than good. The main point I'm trying to get at is that blaming like an entire team for like one or two people's shitty behaviors is wrong. And like they weren't just trying to shut down football, like with football comes cheerleading as well, so the cheerleaders were being like disregarded as well, because if you have no football team you have no cheerleaders, you know what I mean? Jock culture doesn't create rapists create rapists. Sport gives people a purpose, like we saw with Justin, how he was very much lacking purpose when he moved back to Liberty, and then once he started playing football again, he felt like he had a sense of purpose and that he was less reliant on drugs and he was less depressed and he just seemed like a lot happier. And like it also gives people a chance to go to college. I don't know how many times I'm saying that, but yeah. Overall, punish the rapists, not every other athlete, as well as the one rapist. Just blame that one or two or however many rapists or like bad people there are, instead of blaming like the good athletes that are just there for good reasons, like getting fit. Punishing athletes that play sport for like physical and mental well-being, finding a sense of purpose, and are looking to make a career for themselves or a chance to attend college or like a higher education because of like a couple of toxic people just isn't healthy. Next I want to talk about Clay and Arnie. They're like kind of cute as friends, kind of, but like they never should have dated. They're both super nerdy, which works for a friendship because they have loads in common. But I think Clay needs to focus on himself and his mental health, because like he spends a lot of time caring about other people, so he hasn't had much of a chance to like look after himself. Also, Arnie's not the greatest human, so they don't really work great together. Next I want to talk about Casey. She's like that stereotypical feminazi. Oh, by the way, if I'm saying she, I'm referring to Casey the character. I know that the actor that plays Casey is non-binary, I'm pretty sure. So if I'm saying she, I'm referring to a character and not referring to Bex and trying to like put them in some sort of box that they don't want to be part of. You know what I mean? Yeah, so Casey is like the stereotypical feminazi. Like, she was the one that came up with an idea to protest Bryce's funeral, which is a big no-no because, as Jess said to her, like, people are mourning because even though Bryce was a horrible human being that did horrible things, he still had family and friends that loved him and cared about him. She had a go at Tyler because he said that he didn't want to protest Bryce's funeral. Good boy, Tyler. And tells him that he shouldn't be telling the actual sexual assault victims how to run their club. Like, Casey, if only you knew. Like, just because Tyler is not a woman doesn't mean that he doesn't understand what it's like to be raped. Casey calls Jess a victim and not a survivor, which is disrespectful when they all prefer to call themselves survivors because they survived something and they don't want to be boxed into like this victim mentality, even though the show does a great job of making characters victims and only victims. But anyway, sorry that Jess just wants Bryce to rest in peace. Like, oh my god, fuck their pain. What about your pain? And every girl he raped. Like, I understand that Bryce did some extremely shitty things, right? But like, dancing on his grave while loved ones are grieving is just so messed up on so many levels. And you can acknowledge that he did some horrible things while he was alive, but like, let people that loved him have an opportunity to mourn and celebrate his life, because he wasn't a monster. He did monstrous things, but that doesn't make him a monster. And she also says that if Jess truly understood what Bryce did to him, that she wouldn't be dating Justin, which, like, it's not Justin's fault what happened, it's Bryce's fault. The only redeemable character trait I have for Casey is that she apologized to Tyler after she found out that he was a survivor, and I thought that was really cool, and it was sweet how they like had a little moment. Next, I want to talk about Alex. He was such a whiny bitch this season, there's no other way to put it. No tea, no shade. He just was so annoying, and I hated it as well because like his character development in seasons 1 and 2 was just like wasted on him being like super annoying. Like, toxic masculinity really got to him. Like, he got mad at Jess when they broke up because Jess had feelings for Justin and he just couldn't respect that. It was so infuriating to watch him because I wanted to like him, I really did, but I disliked him more than I liked him, and I hate that because it was like one of my favorite characters. Like, he started using steroids, I guess, so then he could make himself feel more manly after like all his injuries kind of like messed him up, and that he couldn't like walk properly, and that like his strength wasn't really there. And like, he kind of tried to prove himself by like fighting in the boxing ring, even though he wasn't supposed to do that because of his health. Like, I understand he wants to improve himself after he shot himself, and like he wants to recover as well, but like his roid rage was so annoying and so cringy, and it was so unnecessary. Like, especially once we realized he was the killer, which again, I don't believe it was murder, it was an accident, whatever. He's always working out at the boxing ring even though he can't like push himself too much because of like his injuries and he hasn't fully recovered yet. I understand he's in pain, but like in emotional pain more than anything, but I feel like if he just like listened to like his doctors and all that kind of stuff and like slowly recovered, then it'd be better in the long run, as opposed to like doing something stupid and getting himself more injured. Next, I want to talk about Winston and Monty. First things first, Winston deserved better. Monty wasn't automatically a better person because he started dating someone. I understand that Winston didn't really know about Monty's past, but like trying to make us sympathize with Monty after Monty didn't really do anything to show that he changed. Like, Monty was an asshole. Monty being gay doesn't make him less of an asshole. You know what I mean? Like I said previously, at least Bryce was trying to show that he was trying to change and he was trying to be better. It just seemed like Monty didn't want to do better. He was still a bully. The only thing was that he really liked a guy, and that's it. Next, I want to talk about Bryce's dad. He just like left the family. Like, he and his mum got a divorce and then he just like left to start a family of his own. He was late to Bryce's funeral and was treating it like a goddamn wedding. Nora's words, not mine. He kind of cared about Bryce, which we see at the funeral. Like, he was crying at the funeral, so somewhere deep down he cared about his son, which I can respect. And when the protesters started protesting the funeral, he told police officers to like get rid of them. I don't really have a lot to say about Bryce's dad, but I thought I'd just add that in. Honestly, I've only got a couple of more things to talk about, but they're all like really small ones. Next, I want to talk about the protest at Bryce's funeral. Do I really need to explain why this was bad? His mom was in the middle of a eulogy. It was a really sweet scene until the protesters were like, he was a rapist. Like, we been new, you know? And this like went directly against what Jess wanted. And the group just listened to Casey instead. And we all know why I don't like Casey. Next, I want to talk about Clay's mom. I only have 2 points for Clay's mom, so this will be really quick. Like, she never like said that she believed that Clay was innocent. Like, I understand that she's a lawyer and she's trying to look at everything from a legal standpoint because that's her job, but like, please try and support your son, please. I love Amy Hargraves, just want to say that now. Her character in Homeland is everything. And I love the actress, you know, I feel like I have to say that about everyone. If I dislike their character, like, the actors are fine. It's a shame as well, because Clay's mom seemed so supportive in the previous seasons, and then watch it being like, well, did you kill Bryce? Like, no, he didn't. Like, show some compassion for your son, please. Lastly, I want to talk about The Killing Moon. Like, how many fucking versions of The Killing Moon are we gonna have to listen to? Like, the first one in season 1 was fine, but like, we get it. So cruel, you kissed me. That's my official audition for my rendition of The Killing Moon to appear in season 4. So Jay Asher, if you're watching this, hit me up and I can do a full version of that. I'm just so sick of that song. Yeah, I think I'm gonna end it here. Thanks for watching. If you've made it to this point, congratulations. You've lost an hour of your life. Proud of you, honey. Look after yourselves and have an amazing day. Bye.